Welcome back to Horrifically Well Read, Bled, and Said. Today we are very excited to talk to Robbie Dorman, author of the excellent release this year, Words of Christ in Red, and a podcast host himself. You should be listening to, if you're not already, Blood on the Typewriter, excellent podcast about writing and especially horror and dark fiction. Welcome, Robbie, to the pod.
Hello, thanks for having me. I appreciate that. That's a
Yeah, of
what a
course.
lovely introduction.
Yeah. Well, we loved meeting you at StokerCon. You were like one of our tables that we were like, we have to
Yeah.
go. And I still remember you have a fabulous little like marquee to just be
Display,
like, to be like, here's how you can buy my things. One of the more organized tables, FYI. And you should pride
I'm
yourself
pretty
on
good
that.
at it.
Yeah.
I make the joke that I'm better at selling my books than writing them.
Hey, you know what? That's a real struggle though, because like when we were at Books and Brews, it was like so many people they struggle to be able to pitch it fast enough, to price it, and so you did an awesome job.
They didn't get me in 5 seconds. I just
You
pointed
just
at
hit
them
him in
and
the
I was
face.
like, "You fucking suck. I'm not buying shit from you." No.
I wish that were true. We ended up. You're probably like, you know what? I'll give you longer, and then we ended up with way more books.
Yeah, I was gonna say y'all are like super, super kind, super sweet people. So it's not. It was nice again seeing Stoker. I'm like, oh, you get so many people through social media,
Yep.
Right?
and you don't put a name to a face or even a username to a face,
Sure.
and then you're like, oh, hello. I didn't expect. You don't really expect to see, and I was, I had no expectations for that mass signings. Even having a couple people stop by and say hello to me was pretty neat.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it's a part of my I do a lot of in-person events selling books, so it's like I'm like everything I try and get real good at it.
Yeah, for sure. And like, do you when you're like doing now? Obviously, it might change based upon like the event you're at, but do you always have like a minimum, or like do you set a goal for yourself of how many you're trying to sell?
Yes, which is also sometimes I think to my own mental health detriment of my own mental health, because I'm like, oh, I should, and I don't know. It obviously depending on the event and how much money I paid to get a table. And
Sure.
if I know it's like, StokerCon, I was there mostly like I had, internal, like it was for networking. It was to meet authors, hang out with my friend, like, there's recreation there too, just to have fun. And part of it is just another feather in my cap. I've attended StokerCon and know what it's like, even though I'll probably go every year now because it was so much fun.
I was just gonna ask you. I was like, are you already set up for Pittsburgh 2026?
I will be there. I jumped on early tickets. I managed to get a hotel room in the actual hotel, which is great.
Awesome.
Which I was not at this Stoker. I was like 25 minutes down the road at a less than nice hotel.
Yeah, but maybe
not a 4-star
like
Hilton.
you could actually get a drink at your hotel, or
no, there was no. There was I won't bring down the mood of this podcast immediately.
Did you have a crazy hotel?
Wait, how was it worse than where Stoker actually was?
Well, when you walked, okay, I made my complaints known about that Hilton I was trying to get drinks. It's that, one very disgruntled bartender is not enough for 1,000 writers. Very disgruntled. He yelled at me when I ordered a drink. And I'm like,
oh my
okay.
God.
I mean, he was yelling at everyone, I think. But I mean, it's just, but I'm like, I couldn't hear him. And he was asking me how I wanted to pay. And I had my card out in front of me. Like I'm holding it like a weapon. And he's like, how, he's just yelling and I can't understand him. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. And he just kept yelling louder. And I don't know if it was like, and he was very busy because again, he was the only person working there when there should have been at least 3 bartenders.
At least.
But at least in that Hilton, as far as I know, you didn't walk downstairs and immediately get confronted by terrible racism.
Oh God.
Which is the first thing that happened first morning as I was leaving to walk. It was not raining that morning, so I walked to the Hilton. It's still 20-minute walk. It's not, it's manageable. I was walking all day, so it's not a big deal, but there's just immediately the people running the hotel were all Indian people. And there was a very angry woman white woman there the very first morning, just yelling at the man for not speaking English the way that she thought
God.
he should.
Ugh.
And I'm like, and I was like, she was not doing well. There was none of it was good. I was just like, I don't need to be in this. I'm not
Yeah.
not my circus, not my monkeys. I'm gonna keep
Yeah.
walking. She was leaving anyway. It's not like she was like, again, I don't know what's going on, but it was the right price is the name
No, you're
was
hoping
how
that.
that why I was in that
Yeah.
hotel. It was the right price. But I love StokerCon, the convention itself, not the bartender at the bar or the
Yeah. Yeah.
hotels and all that stuff. The
The community, the
people,
panels were all
Yes.
right? All
amazing.
that stuff was incredible. No complaints whatsoever about all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Mhm.
I don't know if you know John Ward or not.
I
Writes the Scareville
don't
series,
know.
but he often on Facebook posts about his really epic shitty
Nightmarish. Yeah.
hotel experiences and like there's like just like actual blood on the lampshade.
Yeah, I've stayed at hotels where I've had to barricade the door before.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's just like he, being a writer, he has a really funny way to position it, or like, even when I opened the door, the cockroaches ran out, they asked to leave, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think when you're trying to minimize your costs and you got to lodge somewhere, but be smart about it, it's like you look, it's
You're
just
weighing price and whether or not you're going to live through
exactly
the
like listen, no,
experience.
you're not. You're just getting fodder for your next short story or
Novels.
you
Yeah.
can write that woman's backstory of that, she left
I mean,
after doing that thing and then
I
she got hit by a car. I
You
don't
kind
know.
of did in Words of Christ and Red a little bit.
was gonna say there's a lot of those people as tend to be the villains in a lot of my stories.
Yeah.
I had just finished reading Clay McLeod Chapman. I had just finished reading Please Wake Up and Open Your
Open
Eyes.
your eyes.
Yeah, and which is full of that awful kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And I said that to him. I'm like, man, it's really strange. I just finished your book, and got to meet him in person for the first time. And I was
Yeah.
like, I just saw that. I saw it firsthand.
Did
Boy,
you just like when I read that book, I just imagined Clay's voice screaming like the open your eyes, open your
it's
eyes, like
really,
Yeah.
how
really
he's always like
upsetting.
doing something funny and
Or
screaming.
that's just the facts.
Yes,
Yeah,
over and over. Like I could hear
Singing
his
Baby
voice.
Ghost.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That was
Him doing a reading from that book is an experience. For sure.
yeah.
I did not see it. I was at another thing at that same time. I heard about the standing room only, about the the ballroom being filled with people for the performance.
Oh yeah, he actually read the first scene or first chapter from. Have you read Kill Your Darling?
I have not. It's on my list along with about
Okay.
50 million other books.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, yeah. I mean, the main character's son was killed by basically making a helmet of duct tape and
Yes.
suffocated him. And so he just read the first chapter describing that, and like he's bawling and crying. Everyone's crying. I'm like,
Was this like a
son of
personal
a.
story to him, or was it just something he wrote that upset himself so much?
I mean, it's really upsetting to read, but
I
yeah,
mean,
no,
is
it's
it like
no,
based
no,
off?
no, no.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like an 80-year-old man telling the story and stuff
Oh
like
my
that. So yeah,
gosh.
but no, yeah, it's always an experience with him. So
Yeah, the TBR list, does it stress you out massively? Like, I'm genuinely haunted by mine.
I mean, right now, especially starting the podcast, it
Yep.
gives me a book I need to read every week if I haven't already. Usually, I haven't read these books. Lately, it's all been new releases or stuff that's
Yeah.
not out yet,
Yes.
and I want to read the book and have questions about it.
Right.
So I need to read that. I am a fast reader. I'm lucky in that way, so I can read very quickly. But there's still like my own, obviously, books I want to read just for
Exactly.
pleasure. And then other
plus
books.
to do this writing thing,
Yeah, I mean, other books on top of that I want to read for even research purposes. I just finished
Yeah.
reading a book about whaling, so that's
Ooh.
what that I need to fit that in too. So it's more like I don't know. I try not to let it stress me out. It's more about just I've literally opened up my spreadsheet. I have a spreadsheet now that is like my top, 10 books I need to read in the order I need to read them, just to keep myself organized.
Mm-hmm.
But those are need to reads. Like for the podcast, I'll be running a panel at a convention on Halloween weekend, and I want to have a book read from everybody who is on the panel.
Right.
So I'm going to be catching up with that. It's going to be a lot of reading in the next 2 weeks.
I relate to that. Like I feel like sometimes I'm like back in college or something where I'm like, I need to read this week and we can't do anything else other than we need to read because, and we were just talking with Momo Shadi and I was like, I think I said, because we usually record 3 to 4 times a week. And that if that's an author all week, and yes, I scheduled that for Adam scheduled it for ourselves. It's like that's a lot of pressure to read a lot of books all at once. And it started getting to the point where I was like, okay, I'm not reading. Not that I dislike the readers or the authors, like it was fine. It just meant like I could never get to any of the other books that I really wanted to read as well. So I think that's where the pressure and stress came on. But then
It's a balance.
it is.
You have to find
Yeah. So
one
we started
is.
scheduling better and we started saying at least one of us has to read. And that's the benefit for us is, you're one person. So, it's like, and also when you're like reading to enjoy versus reading to take notes, if you're asking about specific, style things with the way you do your podcast, I mean, or like you said, you're reading about whaling for research. It's like how often you're pausing to make a note or whatnot,
Takes a little bit longer than
yes,
just for
right.
regular pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to keep things on digital in that case, so I can just highlight it without having to like copy things. It saves
Even
me some
better.
time.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
I'm hearing Excel spreadsheet. I'm like, this is a very organized person. And then the highlighting like this, I'm like, okay, I feel like we could learn some
Yeah, I
efficiencies
think
from you,
so. Yeah,
Robbie.
definitely.
I mean, it's a problem. It's
No,
not a
it's a skill set that not
well.
everybody
See,
has.
it's just I kind of am efficient in everything in my entire life, so it it is good until it's not good.
Now, when you say like, okay, so it's efficient for everything you do, but is it like you're relentless about it? Like
Not
there's no
anymore.
other way sort of thing? Is that what
Not
you're saying?
anymore.
Okay,
But it
good.
wasn't always that way. That's the thing where it's like you have to again, it's uh practice and therapy and being
Yes,
like,
yes.
hey, life is not always about doing things as quickly and as efficiently as you can, which is it's hard for me to do sometimes. I have to
Yeah,
again, it is a practice.
it
Mhm.
is. And patience and chill and rest and
Boy,
like being okay with like, yeah, all that.
patience. What's that?
What is that?
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Well, I was saying like Adam's birthday is this weekend
Well, happy
and I'm like,
birthday.
Oh, thank you.
yes. And I'm like, what are we doing? What do I have to shop for you? What do I have to
Yeah.
and it's like we've for
Please
so many
nothing.
years we've made this
Yeah.
like massive production and he's like, "No, really, like I already got my books that I wanted. We're going to go to horror reader weekend.
In a couple
Like
weeks.
I
Yeah.
just want to sit home and read." I'm like, "Yeah, but we read all the time." He's like, "I know, but that's what I want to do." And I'm like, "Really? We can just do that?" Like it's finally starting to flex into something else that,
Yeah.
like okay, uh, balance.
Mhm.
Like maybe like, saying like
Just
it is
chill,
okay to like
relax.
not have to go through the traditional celebration grind and I think that's like a learning not just on a personal level but also professional too.
I mean, it's a double-edged sword. I write quickly. I publish a lot. Like when you're self-published, like there's no someone telling me I can't do this as much as I possibly can. And that's good in some ways. Like it shows people tend to respect me more just because I have a lot of work out there. But it is also like I can easily just let it take over my entire life. And I don't want
Yeah.
that to happen. Yeah.
So when you're not
Well,
reading and writing and interviewing, then like, and you're squeezing time in for other things besides efficiency, what do you like to do?
Like walking my dog.
Mhm.
That's really good. I mean, she needs it, but I do enjoy it. It's just
Okay.
pleasant. I enjoy watching Bake Off with my wife.
Oh,
Cooking shows in general, that's my main source of like relaxation.
there is
Even stuff I've seen before, I'll rewatch old cooking shows, just
can
ones
I just
episodes
tell
on
you
YouTube or whatever.
that when I was like an like in between jobs, I had a non-compete, right? I couldn't like work. And it was like prime time to put the Food Network on at like 9, 10 in the morning. And like the light was still like not aggressive. And it was like, oh my God, there's no drama on the Food
Mhm.
Network or whatever. It's just so chill and like, and we're gonna add this. And I'm like, I'm telling you what, relaxation, nervous system reset. Amazing.
Yeah. I watch or Taskmaster,
Oh, well, then I
or
started going into like the guys' grocery games. Like I used to like
I don't watch the game shows. Aside from Bake Off, that's the only like cooking competition show I really watch. I watch
uh-huh.
I watch like a lot of YouTube stuff, a lot of YouTube cooking channels, and old school Good Eats with Alton Brown. I really liked Good Eats a lot.
I love the whole science aspect. Like, you learn so much.
I mean, he taught me how to cook.
I
I
agree.
I got to tell him that at a signing event, and it was very nice. It was
Oh my
nice to be able to
god.
do that.
How what did you buy from him? Like, was it a specific
It was his newest book. Um,
awesome.
yeah, it was his newest one, but you got a photo op with him. You got, maybe 30 seconds with him, which is,
Yeah,
like, it's just more just to be able to say, me to meet someone who was important in my life and tell him that.
absolutely.
And he complimented me on my John Carpenter t-shirt.
I
Nice.
love it. I love it.
He's
Well,
like, what's he asked me what my favorite Carpenter movie. I'm like, oh, it's The Thing, of course.
really?
And then he
Okay.
quoted The Thing to me, and I'm like,
Oh my
okay.
god.
So he's actually pretty cool too.
Yeah, Alton Brown's great. Yeah.
Well, he comes to our area, which is like the Hershey, Pennsylvania area often, and he like eats at one of these like really original restaurants. Like, so I think it's in like a train car or like a some kind of thing. But anyway, everyone always says he's just like absolutely delightful and kind and great to have around and
I'm
everything.
sorry for my dog. She won't
Yeah.
stop barking.
It might be ours. Who knows?
Yeah, I
Does ours-
can't
No,
hear
I
it.
if you can't hear it, good, because she is absolutely barking. I can hear
I
it.
can't, but I tell you, every single podcast
Mhm.
they misbehave. But I also liked watching what was her name, Nigella Lawson. She's always like,
Nigella's nice. I liked her. I liked Giada. Of all the old
yeah,
Food Network personalities, I like Giada. I
yeah.
like Nigella. I liked Alton Brown, number one in my heart. But I mean, that's what I like. Or I'll watch, comedy show. I'll watch Dropout. I don't know if y'all watch Dropout, but I
Uh-uh.
watched. It's a streaming service. It was most popular for its D&D content at first.
Ooh.
It has has live plays of their D&D show, but lately, more past couple years, they've expanded their like more and more comedy shows, and it is like become most of my personality.
I'm gonna have
Is
to check
is
that out
drop.
because I feel like, getting we have like in our house here, we have like just the four of us on a Instagram and we send each other like the funniest or the grossest like
Reels.
food reels that you like shouldn't be watching, and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And it's just such a great like comedic release and just reset.
Dropout it's all improvisers, and they're all really, really, really good. They're all
Well, I'm
very
hooked.
whip
Is
smart.
it a pay service or like a
Yeah, it's $6 for this per month,
I think I
and
could
they.
handle that. Yeah.
I mean, I would. They are here. This is a not frowned upon by them. They openly suggest like, hey, if people want to check us out, share a password. And then
That's
if
cool.
they have faith that, oh, once you do that for long enough, you'll go,
You'll
I
no, we
love
for
should.
it. That's
yeah.
a great like handing out samples at the food court, trying
Right.
food.
And they have a YouTube channel, and they will upload like episodes like of something to give you like a taste. Like here they have their flagship shows are their D&D show, which is called Dimension 20. Then they have a game show called Game Changer, which the rules change for the game every episode.
Oh my
So every
gosh.
episode is a new game, effectively.
That
Then they
sounds
have
so good.
and then they have a basically like a improv show that is very similar to Whose Line Is It Anyway?
I was just
Called
gonna say, I hope that's what you were gonna say. I was
Yeah,
like, I
it's
love
very
that
similar to
show.
Whose Line. It's called Make Some Noise. It's structured
Awesome.
like a game show, but again, the points don't matter. So it's like
Awesome.
it's similar to that. But they have another show which is my favorite, not just my favorite comedy show, it's my favorite show that exists maybe ever, called VIP, Very Important People, where the host, Vic Michaelis, it's looks at surface value like a kind of a cheap talk show, like a very like local regional
Yeah, I
talk
love
show
it.
kind of
Okay.
thing. But then the premise is basically Vic is the same. They are always the same character. It's not really Vic. Vic is a real person, but they play like a fictionalized version of themselves.
Mhm.
And then they bring in every episode is a different improv comedian is brought in. They are without knowledge, they are given full makeup, a full costume, and then we get to see them see what they look like for the very first time. And then they work out a character based on how they look.
Wow.
And sometimes
So
it is
cool.
incredibly ornate makeup, like full body suits. Like it is absurd how much, like it looks like they're being gonna be in a movie. Like they have so much makeup on, and then they do like an interview in character as this absurd character, and it gets very strange and very existential at times.
I love
There's an
it.
episode that's on on their YouTube with a character called Tommy Shrigley. And that's the thing. I saw a clip of him on their Instagram. I just saw a reel and I immediately went, I laughed. I haven't laughed that hard in maybe years at some, it was just so funny. And that whole episode is
Now,
on
were
their
you
YouTube
crying
for free.
laughing, coughing
Yes.
laughing, or peeing
Yes.
laughing, or all of them?
All of the above. It is just
That's
so
that tells me the level of how good that is.
it is
Love
just
it.
so it's so funny. I proselytize. They should give me a commission how many times I've
I
told
mean,
people.
an influencer. There you go.
Yeah.
I wish
We're
I
definitely gonna
wish.
check it out. Like,
But
I
that's
can
my like that's what I'm doing. Like, or I'll watch I watch pro wrestling a lot. I play video games. You know, I try to exercise. I have a writing group I go to every week. You know, like
you really are efficient.
there's a large part of my life where I kind of didn't do anything. And
Uh-huh.
now I have flipped the switch from like I found that
Your pendulum's the other
being
direction.
busy makes me happy. So I try to
Yeah.
stay busy.
Robbie Efficient Dorman, middle
Yeah.
name, official.
It's yeah. Or James is given, but yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah. So I feel like I just want Adam to tell you about this really funny story for a comedy thing because it's fun to share about something funny. Oh, you don't want to?
I don't know
No,
what it
no.
is.
Okay.
It's the guy who like comes up with okay, what made me start thinking of this is how creative these people have to be on the spot and how
Uh-huh.
they take something that, was given to them and how do you work the story like the how whose line is it or what he was just describing for this. So I was thinking about the person who tells about the McRib and Grimace and how
Little Victorian boy on
okay,
TikTok, if you've ever seen him.
Don't remember. I can't think of it off the top of my head. If I saw it,
Okay.
I
it's just something
probably
that we've all seen Grimace, we've all seen the advertisements from McDonald's for the McRib, and so it's like I would say it's almost a version of like fan fiction that this little Victorian boy did.
And he does lots of videos where it is these just extremely detailed, long, surreal
Like story,
comedic
yeah.
stories.
I recognize
Yeah.
this man. Yes,
Yeah.
I immediately yes, I knew this. I've seen this
Yes.
man.
Yes. And that I think they ended up someone animated that story that you can see on YouTube too. So I don't want to take someone else's like intellectual property and tell the story on here. So like, but I would highly recommend, just like you said with these guys, it goes places that you would not expect and is
Yeah, it's
so
just the
funny.
level of creativity and storytelling. I thought you might appreciate it.
Yeah. So if you look that up, the Grimace, his Grimace stories is very good. And anyone listening, please look it up too. I couldn't do it as well as he does. So
It's
please
excellent.
watch it.
It's absolutely excellent.
Yeah, definitely.
Some people are just so creative and smart. Like I remember the first time we saw Chuck Wendig and Nat Cassidy and how fast they can just retort and come back at each other.
Uh-huh.
And it's like a wit level that I
You gotta be, them smart fellas.
them smart fellas.
Yeah.
Smart fellas.
Well, I want to say, one of the things that, she talked about your table and how well it's set up and everything. I love that it's kind of like, oh, what are you looking for? Are you looking for a slasher? I got you. You looking for a monster? Yeah, here you go. You looking for religious horror? Like, I love that it's like this smattering of like, if you, whatever horror you want, Robbie's got you covered. And
Yeah.
so I'm assuming because of that you are or have been a big horror fan for a long time. Am I right? Am I wrong? Have you always loved yourself in horror?
Since I was a kid. Yeah, it's probably too young of an age. I saw things that were my parents weren't too protective of me. They I think at a certain point they went, Robbie's smart. He can handle it. It's fine.
Oh my God, Adam, that's you.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I mean, it's the normal these kid like
Right.
Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark and like all that's like I don't
The
know.
normal gateway drugs.
They're all good. Nothing to like, and it's also like there's also like the weirder side of like the book fair, like Wayside School is
I
falling
Mhm.
love that
down.
book.
Like those books, smattering of like Encyclopedia Brown and all that.
Mhm.
Those mystery books, the cozy mystery books is for young boys. But then, like, at a certain point, there was certainly a flip switch where it's just like I was consuming adult horror movies and adult horror fiction. Like I was reading Stephen King and Dean Koontz and Clive Barker
Mhm.
and watching Evil Dead and whatever it was. Like I was voracious, so I was a voracious reader, I was a voracious watcher, I still am to a certain extent, but it's just like whenever especially when I was a kid and there's like no time constraints, I don't have to worry about a job or a career. I'm just like as much as I can possibly fit in. So
Good old days.
yeah, so it was very much there was a certain. I think it was probably when I was 10. There was certainly a point where I'm like my parents were like there was very little they wouldn't let me watch. Like I distinctly remember them not letting me watch Seven when
Really?
it came out, and I
Interesting.
that was the one because I remember very distinctly like most stuff they would let me watch. I would watch monster movies or things like Alien or Predator, Arnold action movies. Obviously, that's
Yep.
fine. But then I
Oh
wanted to see
god,
Seven.
Universal Soldier, like that kind of stuff?
Yeah, Jean-Claude Van Damme, sure. Like, it's all that, like, that stuff's plenty fine, and that, like but for some reason, they wouldn't let me watch 7, and I guess it's been after watching 7, not that many years later, probably I was, like, 13 when I actually finally did see 7. I went, "Yeah, they were probably right. I probably should have seen that when I was 10. It's probably not good to see, like, the knife dildo stuff when I was 10
Yeah.
years old. That's
Yep.
probably good." But then, when I was a teenager literally, they didn't care anymore. They're like, "You're fine. Whatever." Just don't if as long as you don't go do evil stuff, we're not gonna stop you from watching horror movies. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the reason I brought up the Jean-Claude Van Damme thing is because I remember they had made a necklace of, earring or, ears.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. Yes, a necklace of ears.
There's some,
And
yeah,
so he's like,
pretty horrific stuff.
yeah, but we didn't have any sanction on that. But I don't understand, but every time that a sex scene came on, it was like,
Mhm.
"Close your eyes."
Yep.
Oh, my parents didn't care about that either.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No. They were like, "Whatever, it's not
So they were
this." Like, my parents were hippies. They were like
oh,
kinda
that's
like they're
awesome.
like I mean, my dad, he'll never hear this, so he won't care that I'm putting this out on in
I'm
the world,
sending it
but
directly to him.
I mean, you could, he probably still wouldn't care. But I'm like, my dad asked me recently, my dad's 70 in his 70s now. And he was like, "Rob, did you know that we were smoking weed in the house?" And I'm like, "I don't remember knowing that, so probably not, Dad, but whatever. I don't care,
Yeah.
whatever. It's not it's of all the things that my dad never drank ever. I've seen him drink maybe 3 beers in his entire life.
Wow.
And so him smoking weed a couple times a week, whatever, to
Yeah.
ease the stress of managing a construction company.
He
Mhm.
probably just learned early that, like a lot of people, that you gotta regulate your nervous system somehow in life,
Yeah.
in some
Yeah.
mode.
Well,
Especially yeah.
my dad had a lot of anger problems, so it's probably better, yeah, that he did smoke once in a while
Yeah,
just to
so
Yeah.
calm
chill
himself
out.
down.
Right, right. I mean, that's
Yeah.
nervous system right there when you're angry.
Yeah.
And which yeah, he passed it
Alcohol
on to
probably wouldn't have been a good,
No,
passed
might
that
not have
on
been.
to me.
Really?
I mean, I don't know. It's not that I've never been in a fight in my life. It's
Mhm.
never. I'm not a terrifically like. I'm not a. I've said the phrase to people before. I'm not a violent person, but I am ready for violence.
Nah.
I'm also I try and be as peaceful a person as I can, but there is like can be
Don't push me.
a simmering, tension in me that I
Mm,
think can be unsettling to people if they spend enough time with me. And again, I've worked on that. I'm better at it. I'm still not great when I'm driving. I'm still my worst self.
yeah,
But
I
Yeah.
think you're probably in good company with a lot of
I mean,
people.
it's very common, but it is like but my dad, I could tell he has it's the same similar thing where it's like
Mm.
there's like this and a lot of it deals with it's I think rooted in impatience and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But you
that's
mentioned
why
like
we said earlier, why
Words of Christ in Red, the anger in David is rooted in, I think, my anger.
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. I could see that. And the sort of like knowledge of it, inability to like truly keep it under control,
I mean, it is at a certain point, reason why it's why it's very seductive is because it feels good. It feels
Mhm.
good to get to let that anger rise up. I mean, speaking of like
absolutely.
Especially when, you feel it's truly righteous.
Right. Yeah. Righteousness, a combination of righteousness and anger can really make you feel real good. It triggers right brain
Yeah.
chemicals.
Yeah, so, diving into the character, it's like, said you're a '90s kid, we're '90s kids, like, the evangelical church in the '90s fucked us up pretty bad, huh?
They did.
I mean, I went to a private Christian school until
So you
Say
got
less. I exactly knew where you're. I didn't go, but my best friend was a public school kid, and then she moved at like third and fourth grade, and it was like, where'd you go? It was like she tried to come back to public school. And it was like there's no. She just was changed. It was like a different life of
yeah.
having to wear
I mean, I
dresses and say
luckily
the Christian Pledge of Allegiance outside of just the American. There's a whole Christian.
uh,
Robbie, is that not right?
I mean, I could have it. I left my private school at 7th grade. We moved to public school. My mother worked at the school, and there was a schism there, and we left, thankfully. And we stopped going to church too. So it was a very clean break. And I was at a point in my life where I'm like starting to, 13, 14, where I'm like, my brain is starting to activate. I'm like, wait a minute, this is all stupid. This is all
Mm-hmm.
not like I wasn't an atheist yet, but I was certainly on that road where I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, why? Like,
mhm,
where is the evidence of these things? Why are we just and like learning about? You leave your private school that teaches you very absurd things, very unscientific things, and then you see the wider world, and you're like, wait a minute, yeah, that was all crazy.
yeah,
It's absolutely insanity. But yeah, I could sing Onward Christian Soldiers to you right now. I could sing
yeah,
the entire song because I sang it probably 1,000 times as a child.
mhm,
I could sing like any of those hymns or those Christian songs. Like I could sing all of them to you right now. I remember I went to chapel every day. Obviously we go to church on Sunday, we go to church on Wednesday night, but we had chapel in private school every day of the week. 30 minutes of chapel every day. And it's like those are, I don't know, the kind of banal forces that were like trying to control us, and they end up in a lot of my books.
yeah,
I
Where
love
it's
that.
not
That's a
they're not, and it's like, I don't know, that certainly in Words of Christ and Red, uh, uh, Eli gets a little bit, more extreme
yeah,
as the story goes, but largely, like, the forces of those people are, like, they don't they're not, like it's not sexy, it's not romantic, it's usually dudes in
mhm,
polo shirts, like, it's, like,
yep,
very boring, like, very boring versions of, I don't know, control and prejudice.
yeah, and it's interesting, this book, the choices that you make here and obviously, what the story is, like, dictated this, but I think it's interesting that, your protagonist and antagonist, they both still have the same underlying belief system. And I'm interested, David obviously is much more, whatever you want to call it, progressive liberal in, the way that he takes this. But as you're writing this book, obviously you have some like ideas of what you want the reader to get from it, as you are yourself an atheist and have pushed away, but the characters here, their beliefs are really important to them in what they're doing here. How did you kind of balance your own feelings and in that while telling this story? Because I feel like, for me, or like as being sort of traumatized or, this religious trauma, but then having like, okay, I'm rooting for this guy who's a pastor, right? Like that's
Yes.
his job. He might be different, but he is like ultimately his job is still the same thing of, converting people to this religion and all, and doing that. So I just found that to be a real interesting, almost kind of tension there.
I mean, I think I was discussing something like similar to this with a person last weekend at a show, but it is, and they're like, how do you, because we like, there is always the question, people see it and they're like, this isn't a Jesus book, is it? And I'm like,
Yeah, yeah, the
no, it
cover.
is
Yeah.
absolutely not.
Nope.
You're not
Nope.
going to you won't get fooled by that. I think it comes to like, as to the differences in my beliefs versus my characters, it's like I try
Hmm.
and be honest with the characters. I think the
Yeah.
characters have to be truthful, and I feel like I write roughly half my characters believe in some kind of God, because I think roughly half of people believe in some kind of
Yeah.
God. And I think if it belongs, I look at their history, I think about like, I don't spend a lot of time digging into backstories for most of my books. Like, my books are shorter, they move pretty quickly. I write what people need to know, not what everything, I world building is the devil, I will say to people sometimes. Like, I don't need all this dump about exposition about, oh, what's their life like? What was their family like when they were 8? Like,
Uh-huh.
do you need to
Mhm.
know that when you're reading my book? No, not really.
And we appreciate you for that.
But it's still about like being honest with the character about if I'm going to write a book with a pastor as the main character, I don't want the story to be cut and dry. He loses faith in God. That's boring. I think ultimately, like, I don't know, and I think I've been reflecting on this a lot after talking with John Langan and reading his collection, his newest collection for my podcast. It was
Mhm.
really,
Yeah, that was a really good episode, by the way.
I mean, that's a lot of it's just John. He's just so smart and such a good writer. And there's a short story that I know I harped about in the interview called Snake Bit, where he talks about, where you are literally with him as he writes a story. I think a shorter version of that is in the new Why I Love Horror book, the
Yeah.
anthology that just came out. I believe a shorter
Mhm.
version of that is also in there, but the longer version, seeing how he puzzles through a story and seeing how, like, he talks about finding the third ending. It's not what's the happy ending, what's the tragic ending. He's like, it's too simple. You want to find a third ending, challenge yourself to find
Mm.
that third thing, right? Don't never let it be a binary. And I've been thinking about that as I've been like moving forward with another project. I'm like, well, and I'm constantly, it's part of the reason I started this podcast. I want to push myself. I want to challenge myself, be a better writer. And part of Words of Christ and Red, I tell people, I think it's my best book. I challenged myself with this story.
Mhm.
And by doing things like this, by setting it where, oh, the main character is a pastor who firmly believes in God. He's a firm believer in Christ and his teachings, and does believe that it will help people, which is like,
Mhm.
you couldn't be in that position unless you believe that.
Right.
But I also don't want the story to end up, oh, he doesn't believe anymore, it's over. I want it to be more about how can that belief push someone to extreme acts, either good or bad. And ultimately, like, when you have the protagonist and antagonist, Eli and David, they're mirrors of each other.
Yeah.
They're people who could have ended up in the other shoes if certain parts of their lives went different ways. If they didn't, I try and highlight specifically in the story that David has a support system. David's parents are supportive of him coming out at a younger age. His pastor is a man who says, there's nothing wrong with you. And I wouldn't have you ever heard me say anything bad about gay people in my sermons. He's like, I've made calculated choices that I don't do that. And it's
Mhm.
like, and you see David has had those support systems that have let him be himself and have pushed him to be a good man, which is another part of it. It's like, I wanted him to just be a good guy. I had a Atticus Finch in mind.
Mhm.
Mm.
I was thinking very firmly like To Kill a Mockingbird. I'm like, Atticus
Yeah.
Finch is like, when you think of him, he's just like this really good man
Yeah.
who's
Not
not
perfect, but
perfect,
good. Yeah,
but
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wanted to make sure that what happens when a man has to come to this conclusion that he can't be good. Like, for justice to exist in the world, he has to not be good. He has to
Or at
do
least
bad.
not he's gonna have to do some bad things, yeah.
Right. And it's like that idea of like, well, and you come back to the question of how does a just and caring God exist in this
Mhm.
world? And I think that's a more interesting question to me, is like, who is this God? If there is this God, what is it? Who is it? Is it, does it care at all? Is it like, can you rationalize the Western Christian God with the things we see and happen in the world? And I don't know. I try and make it again. I think I quite happy with it, largely because I went to that third ending. I went after something that is not yes or no. It is, I don't know. It is question. Here's a question, and you're like, you can answer that to yourselves. If however you think it went, which
Mhm.
does upset some readers. Some readers want answers, exactly what everything means. They don't want any ambiguity.
Well, it's so funny when this book ended, there was a moment where I was like, "Oh, did I not get like, is this, did this end? Like, is, you know, am I missing something here? But then, like, the more I like thought about it, I thought I recently watched a couple of Dario Argento movies, and I don't know if it's just his style or whatever it is, but it's like when the final action, like that final action ends, whatever, the villain is killed, whatever it is, the movie ends, it's done. He's like, I have no interest anymore. The plot is over, right?
Yeah.
And like, I feel like this book does something similar, and I think it's a lot more sort of thought provoking than just that. And as I was like sitting with it, I was like, yeah, that's where you stop, because now you start thinking, about what the hell does that mean? What just happened in that, church essentially, and it's like, what repercussions does that have for this man's faith, for all these different things? It's like, I thought it was really, really interesting to end at that moment.
Yeah, without spoilers, it is about, I don't know. I often, like, even my books that have set absolutely more cut and dry. This is what happened. This is what it means. Like, I have a lot of books that are like that too. And I have nothing against that. I just feels like certain stories fit more into like, "Oh, this means this and this means that. And I want you to know." In this story, it very much felt like I didn't want to give the reader guidance. I kind of wanted it's supposed to be upsetting, and a large part of upsetting a reader is leaving them in an unsettled place. It's not just the actions that you read about on the page. Those are certainly meaningful and are certainly upsetting, and I literally had to take breaks as I was writing it, but there is also like an absence of explicit meaning can just as much unsettle a reader as graphic violence or shocking content, which is why a lot of I struggle sometimes in categorizing things. People go, "What's extreme horror to you?" And I'm like, well, obviously people always couch it with it's shocking, it's extremely graphic, either in sexual or violence. And I'm like, well, I find it just as unsettling, even more so usually, when I don't have a prescribed answer, right? When there is no there's this lack of meaning. And then there's certainly a book
Yeah.
where it's about religion and about
Mhm.
God, which is generally the biggest questions we ask ourselves, on a personal level. Is like, do I believe in God? Do I
Mhm.
ascribe to a religion? Not having that answer can be like challenging, and that's kind of like the largest part of it was me just not wanting that answer there. But
Yeah.
but also, like, I go watch Jaws. That's what, like, Jaws, they blow up the shark, they float in,
Mhm.
movie's over.
Yep.
We don't, and like that's it. Like, if you want to know how I write almost every story I've ever written, it's Jaws. It's like
Yeah.
there's no more story. They blew up the shark, they lived, and they floated in. Story's over. Do you need more? Do we need to go follow Brody as he gets back to his wife? Like, I know she's happy to see
Right.
him. We know
Mhm.
that
No.
already. You don't need that answer. So it's like that. Where
Funny
a lot of
funny you
times
say that because there was a book that
Oh, yeah.
I will
A lot of books do this,
is
but
it a
yeah, it was
can I say this? Don't okay, fine. It's a book that Adam was like, "This is amazing. You have to read it." And I was like, I felt like the person went on 50 pages too long and went deep into
the rest of the
the
characters'
rest of the
lives,
character. Like,
essentially. Yeah.
it was so much like in the moment, and then all of a sudden I had to figure out how this for the next 50 pages how they got married, the kids they had. Like, I don't fucking think that was necessary.
The story's over. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, and it was a shame because I had loved the pacing and the
Mhm.
feel. And I was like, it didn't fit with the rest of it. And it like ruined it for me. Like, I
Yeah.
never recommend it to anyone because I think how you stick the landing is just as important as the rest of the book. And sometimes you do want like a little bit of an afterwards and it's just enough. But this one was like, it's just obviously it's a important book to Adam will let me say it.
Well, it's a well-loved book in the community, so yeah.
you can tell me after we stop recording, and I'll go,
No, I'm
oh,
just
okay.
Adam can edit
I'll edit it out, but it's My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady
Oh,
Hendrix, but yeah.
okay.
because
I
I
actually
love
I have not read it, so
oh, well, I loved all of it. It was awesome. And then, like I said, it's like maybe 30 pages, but 30 to 50 pages afterwards are like
He kinda does that in
just
almost every book, though,
really
that's the thing, yeah.
unnecessary.
I'll have a coda or something, you know, after the main action is
No,
ended,
this
but
is
that's it. It's just one thing.
it was like
Well, this is
beyond a chapter.
yeah, and it's to
Yeah.
set up, like, I don't know, he's done that in a couple books where it's like goes through the whole lives to set up this final, like, interaction between characters that happens, like, 20, 30 years later,
Well, I
Right.
you
mean, for
know?
that one, and you're gonna edit all this out, but it's
Mhm.
like,
Not
it's
that
like this best friend, she went to this college and then she had these experiences and then she met this man and then she had this many kids and these are what her pregnancies were like and this is what her house is like now. And then it's like, and then this other best friend, and it's probably not that damn detailed, but it felt like that. And I was like, okay, but the whole point of this was like the exorcism has been performed leading up to it, whatever. And it's like, and it goes into their like in their, they're
like in their 40s or
40s or
something, yeah.
50s and they're starting out when they're like 17. I was like, it was just weird.
Yeah.
I always try and keep the ending of Animal House in mind, where like
That's my
that's the kind of
no. Are
level.
you fucking kidding me? I
That's the
just
kind
talked
of
about that.
that's the kind of level of coda that I like. This is where you
Yes,
give you an idea. Yeah, they
that is
did this. They're fine.
see, and now we're talking about efficiencies again, where it's like,
I mean, that's a part of it where I don't
but no,
I
but like
will
that, I
I
said
will
I
follow
hardly
characters,
ever
but there
reread
has
a
to be
book.
more story. There has to be more story there. There has to be a reason that all that stuff gets explored. I think it's interesting that you mentioned Dario Argento because I always compare Words of Christ and Red to Mandy. I don't a Nick Cage movie. I don't know if
A
you
Nick
all
Cage,
see.
yeah.
Yeah, Panos Cosmatos, who
Yes.
does very similar. He's another modern Argento. I would describe him
Yeah.
as, and I think that it kind of spirals into phantasmagoria and surrealism a little bit as at the ending of the
Yeah.
story.
Although I'll say, it's like, we talk about the diversity of horror in general and what is considered horror. And I think that this book, some of the things that happen in this book are some of, there is a sort of religious, supernatural, maybe kind of
Hmm.
feeling of things that are happen, but the actual horrific things that happen are very human.
Yes.
And some of the hardest things to read, I've maybe like when you talk about like extreme horror, it's like it's not like, where you would necessarily shelve this book, but I don't know if some of the violence in this book is more upsetting than some of the most extreme horror I've ever read.
I
And
mean,
like, yeah.
it is very. You're correct. It is. I mean, I didn't. I went. I kind of when I realized there's a certain point where you like. I was talking with
You
this.
realize what's gonna happen,
Well,
yeah.
when I realized I was writing, like, oh, this has to happen, and
Oh,
I went, oh no, but it
yeah,
does. I was like, I don't want it to, but you know, I've talked about how a lot of it is a lot of the hardest part of being of writing horror is oftentimes writing unjust things happening to characters who don't deserve it.
mhm,
And in
yep,
this case, that the descent into like it, but it has to be that hard. It has to be, there cannot be like I had a sensitivity reader for it.
mhm,
I have a bunch of, and I have beta readers who are, they would call me out on things,
yeah.
right? If they don't belong, if they're exploitative and things like that.
I think the
And
only way that characters get to the place they need to finish the book is for that to happen, yeah.
right. So and like you're right, but it's also like no one describes extreme horror like that. It's
Right.
like it is like speaking of Clay McLeod Chapman,
Mhm.
very upsetting books, knows exactly how to, and like this is a credit to him. He's a great
Yeah.
writer. He knows exactly how to really make you upset and to really poke at the things that unsettle almost universally people. It's almost like
Yeah.
it's almost impossible for you not to be upset reading them. But then I remember distinctly I did a virtual panel with him. I was very lucky I got on a virtual panel with him. And we were talking about like I think the topic of like what will you read and what's
Mhm.
the disparity in extreme horror. And he's like, "Oh, I can't read that kind of stuff." And I'm like, "Clay, have you read your own writing? It is
Yeah.
the most upsetting, and like and that affects me way more than an Aaron Bjerregaard does.
Yeah.
Reading that, I think it's also a bit like a matter of, and I worry about it in my own writing where it's like you don't, a lot of times extreme horror and or splatterpunk can turn into wall to wall shock and violence
Mhm.
and graphic whatever for the entire length of the story, and you get desensitized to it. You don't really feel it much anymore because to make you feel more, you have to go even further. And you're like, well, I don't feel different anymore about this horrible thing. I just saw another horrible thing. I just only have read horrible things for the
Mhm.
past 100 pages.
Yeah.
You have to have that the variance. You have to come the tension. You have to let it ease. You have to give your characters some degree of peace for that strife and that violence to be meaningful.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that break is really necessary till you can go high key again.
And I don't know I try and make people understand. I don't know. When people ask, I don't think anything I write would be categorized as extreme horror, even though I write plenty of stuff that has graphic violence in it.
Mhm.
I tend to write. I don't tend to write books with sexual assault in them. But it's not that I don't. It's just that when people think of extreme horror, they think of a very specific thing. They think of the Christopher Triana, think of Full
Mhm.
Brutal, whatever. They don't
Yep.
think of this very. It's one scene in a book, but it is incredibly upsetting. But it's only one scene, so it's really not. It's not.
Right.
It's not dense enough, I guess,
Yeah.
for it to qualify as extreme horror.
Right. And I know you talked to Robert Piatone also, and he kind of
Yes.
said a similar thing where it's like, I'll do that one scene that is extremely gory or really upsetting and that kind of stuff, but like it will be, that one scene. And I think maybe extreme horror as a genre like loses its power, like you said, because that one scene gains its power because it is only the one scene. And maybe like so many events led up to that happening that, when it happens, especially in a book like yours, I think there is, from the very beginning, there's a sense of inevitability, but you don't know where that's going to be pointed towards until it happens, right? And then you're like, I knew it was going to happen, but I didn't know this was going to happen, right?
Yeah, I
And
mean,
I
it's
and that
that. I mean, that's a part of the setting expectations and setting the
right,
tone, and like you have
right.
to. I don't. You have to be again. It's coming back to you have to be honest
Mhm.
with your writing. You have to be honest with your reader. You have to be honest with your character. Like you have to. And if you are going to try and pull a big twist on people, you can't actually. People say they want a big twist. Largely, I think they want the idea of a big twist.
Yeah.
They don't
Hmm.
necessarily want to actually be utterly because most of the time, like the big M. Night Shyamalan twists come so out of nowhere
Right.
Yeah,
that
that's no good.
that's not good writing. Like
It's really hard for a book to be honest and have a big twist at the
Mhm.
same time, at least to
exactly
continue the entire way through.
exactly, and I
I
think
think the
that's
big
the
twist has to be earned, and that's really hard to get there.
yes, and
It's
I think
Like
yeah.
books that
so
do that well, where it's like, actually that made sense, and I really didn't see it coming is really hard.
right, and I think some people have a very low bar where they don't care if it
Yeah.
they don't care if it I don't know. I think that's the one thing my books I think have plenty of mystery, but aren't
Yeah.
very twisty. I have a couple books that are very twisty,
Right.
but most of them are not. Most of them are I you kind of know what's going to happen or at least have
Mhm.
a sense of it because I think that's just quality writing. I don't think and I don't that doesn't hurt. I don't know if this is a common. I feel like most people get very upset when they get spoiled.
Mhm.
I don't really
Yeah.
care about spoilers.
'Cause it should still work anyway.
Right. I don't really if I think a story is interesting and like I want to know the hook, I want to see who the writer is, like I want like movie anything, really. It could be any kind of narrative. I don't really care if I know what's going to happen. I'll still go see it. I'll still read
Mhm.
it. I'll still whatever. I like going in blind a lot of the times without any knowledge of a thing because that keeps my expectations in check. Because sometimes that I can be a victim of that, where like I
Mhm.
expect it to be this good and it's
Right.
not, or I expect this out of it and it
Mhm.
doesn't do that thing, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Yeah, that is really interesting, and I think that when like, I love that you say that about not being spoiled, because something if it's that dependent on it, something's probably missing narrative-wise, that it doesn't work when you know what's gonna happen, so that's really interesting.
I mean, I feel like that's a trap
Right.
that people fall into where
It's
they're like,
cheating, yeah, kind of, I don't know.
well, I mean, I understand, like, you want it's also when you're a creator of any kind, or is specifically a writer, I don't really get surprised
Mhm.
ever. I am very, very, very rarely am I reading something or watching something and I don't know exactly how it's going to go. I can
Right.
tell you immediately, like, oh, it's going to do this and do this and do that, and then it'll do that. It's just I do this for a living, right? Like I know these story shapes, I know these character arcs. I am an English lit major. Like I I know all this stuff. So it doesn't really mean it's not really meaningful to me if like, oh, it zigs when it sort of zagged and things like that. I'm like, does it tell the story well? Do I
Mhm.
care about the characters? Those simple things, I think those are
Yeah.
much bigger importance to me than does it
Right.
surprise me, even
And
though
I
I
think
think
about, like, slashers are usually like, violent mysteries essentially, right? Like where you're trying to figure out who did it.
Mhm.
Often, not always Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, but like I think that's why like Friday the 13th, as much as I love those films for certain other things, especially the first film, it's very like the lesser of them all because it makes no sense. Like, there's no way to know who the killer is in this movie because you've never even been introduced to the character until there's basically the reveal at the end, right? Like, it's a very out of left field kind of like cheating shock moment that it's like, okay, it's this, middle aged woman that's doing it. And that the whole point is that. And it's like, not that it's like a great film before that in the first place, but like, it's, it's for that shock value. And then it's like, huh, interesting. But how did she do this, that, and this thing then,
Don't
and
think
it's like,
about it. That's the actual
yeah,
answer. Don't worry
exactly.
about that. Don't
So,
worry about that.
it's like no one saw this lady wandering around the
Nope.
camp. Okay,
Don't.
all right.
Hey, you're already asking too many questions.
And it's like, and that's the thing where it's like that I think that people do that often where it's like, who's the least likely to do it? Okay, they're going to do it, but I'm not going to make any reason for it or how they could have possibly gotten away with it or done this the whole time. So it's a, oftentimes cheap or cheating. And I think that, that resonates or that comes across one way or the other, even if people are, have that initial like, oh man, I can't believe that, So definitely very good point. And, I just want to close, talking about this book just by saying I just, want to spread the word because I think this is one of the best books I've read this year. And I love this book from the moment,
You
I
did.
started reading
You
it. I think
absolutely
it's a
did.
really special book and I just hope that, it continues to find readers more and more and more because I think you did something really special here.
That's very kind of you. I mean, I do think it is. I think it's my best book, and I've tried to. I try to get the word out as much as I possibly can, and try and do the song and dance on social media and all that.
Hmm.
But it's still, the challenge of being a self pub
Yeah.
trash is I got it's only me. I'm the team. There's no big push behind me up behind me
Yeah.
that's like gonna put the books in front of other people,
Well,
unfortunately.
that's one from the moment I read it, I knew it was gonna be on my end of the year list, so
I
you'll
I
see it
I
you'll
do
see it
appreciate,
again.
and like the thing you said to me, I can't tell the audience what you said to me because it will semi spoil the book a little bit. But the thing you said to me at SoberCon, I carry that with me to my day. This day, I still think about that.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
Well, that's very I'm glad.
because it's very like it's like, oh, I did something right. I know I did the thing I did. I'm very proud of this book. Oh, it is the struggle of like just yelling into the void and hope, and I do sell books to
Yes.
people in person. I'm very good at that, like I said. So they but it's also like, I don't know, we are obviously you know horror writers, but it is
Mhm.
selling a very upsetting book to people right
Yep.
now
Mhm.
is
"Hey, are you
sometimes
feeling
hard.
bad? Wanna feel worse?"
Want to feel even worse? This book has no answers. It will make you feel bad. Do you want to read it? I mean, some people, yes. Some people say, yes, I do want to feel
Yeah,
even
I'm
worse. I
all
want,
for it, but yeah,
yeah,
no, I know what you mean, it's a very
yeah.
specific and yeah, so
There's
but
no fun. There's no fun in this book.
yeah,
It's not a fun read.
but also read it.
Yeah, but also go buy it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely. So, yeah, no, you will. I mean,
It's going to be a
literary
worthwhile
fiction
read, right?
upsetting things like people, this same book could be sold as literary fiction and, easily, because religious trauma, all these kinds of things are y- important, right now. And the way that people are sort of questioning things that they've experienced, openly. I think this book needs to be part of that much larger and conversation that people are
that's
having.
it's very
And
sweet of you to say.
so definitely on, where can we find you, what's coming next, is there anything that you can tell us about that we might be seeing?
You can find me and my name everywhere. I actually not on TikTok anymore. I deleted my TikTok. So not on TikTok, but mostly on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. Is my name, Robbie Dorman. My website is robbiedorman.com. And if you search my name, you'll find everything on Amazon, on barnesandnoble.com, wherever, wherever you buy books. If you want a signed copy, go to my
Mhm.
website.
Nice.
For what's next, I am, as if you follow me online, you'll see my woe is me posting about trying to find an agent, about my
Yeah.
where I exist, where should I exist, where's my home in the greater world of publishing, how do I find that, what is it. I'm trying to find an agent. I've been querying for a large part of this year with a couple manuscripts that are done. One's a dark fantasy manuscript that I don't know what I'm going to do with it because I don't really write fantasy in general,
Mhm. Yep.
even though I do really like it. But the other thing is I'm currently querying with it. It's called The Blush, and it is done. And if I don't find an agent, I think I'm just going to publish it myself, probably early
Mhm.
next year. If I don't get any, no one's interested in it. My weird sapphic body slash cosmic horror
Oh my.
meets the Radium Girls,
Okay.
Oh, shoot.
basically, and meet with a little bit of like a radioactive quackery in there as well.
Love it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm super happy with the book. I think it's very good, very, very good. But I don't know if I don't know. I've kind of given up on trying to know what people want from me, what an agent might be interested in. I have no idea really. So I'm just gonna kind of try everything, even though everything I write is weird in a different way. And this one is, like, I don't know. It is very odd, but it will probably be out early next year if I never get, an agent interested in it. Even though I'm working right now on a whaling book.
That's what I was gonna say. Something's with some whales, right? Yeah. So,
Yeah, it's gonna be. I'm still planning it. I just finished. Like, I'm doing research and I'm like figuring out the story shape, but like I think it's definitely like a take on. I love Moby Dick, and I wanted to write something that was like connected to that in a certain way, but elevate the cosmic horror elements.
uh,
And I think I've settled on basically an analog for Ahab as the main character.
mhm.
In, let's say he didn't die, maybe he
Okay.
lived and he was the only survivor, and he comes
Mhm.
back and becomes a minister in a whaling
Man.
in a
That I mean, that's definitely a track he would be on. So
exactly. And I've like, but
yep.
then, and then obviously stuff happens. I like that would be that's the very like initial pitch would be like, and then I'm not going to use Ahab. I'm going to disconnect it from Moby Dick in
Actual Moby Dick.
general,
Yeah.
actual Moby Dick. But it's going to be that same in kind of the dying days of whaling when we kind of were abandoning it as an
Yep.
industry, as
Nice.
Americans, and an older kind of more, I don't know, broken Ahab a little bit. I don't know. Again, I'm working on things all the time. If you're in the Central Florida area, I'm constantly at shows, so you can come see me. If follow me on Instagram, you'll find me. I'm going to be in St. Pete on Saturday, and Sanford on, like, again, it's Halloween season, so I'm very
Yes.
busy.
Gotta
But
be everywhere.
yeah, I gotta be everywhere. But Robbie
Yep.
Dorman online, wherever you find me.
Perfect.
I love it.
Well, pick up all his books, but especially Words of Christ in Red, and listen to Blood on the Typewriter is excellent podcast. Very, very, very interesting if you are interested in writing at all, horror at all, or just good conversation. And we appreciate the good conversation that we had here tonight. So thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Well, thank y'all. Appreciate you.
Thanks,
All right.
Robbie.
Yep. Have a good
Bye.